Hello, welcome to All or Nothing TV. I'm Andy Brassell. Now we're going to be looking ahead to the World Cup qualification playoffs in Europe, or more specifically one game, Republic of Ireland versus France, the game that I think will be the most difficult to call out of those four qualification playoffs in Europe. Now these two teams in qualification, only one defeat between them, that in France's opening game in Austria, whereas Ireland unbeaten throughout the qualification games, but falling behind Italy because of their amount of drawn games. They drew 6 out of 10. The draws were also something that really did for France eventually in their penultimate brace of fixtures. That they were a goal up against Romania in Paris before being pegged back and drawing there, and only drawing against eventual group winners Serbia in Belgrade as well, in a game in which Hugo Lloris, the goalkeeper, was sent off early on. So really that lack of killer efficiency has put both teams in this position. Ireland only scoring 12 goals in their 10 games, whereas France got a relatively meagre 18, but slightly better than Ireland in their 10. I think on level of natural talent, I think most people would agree that France have definitely got the edge in terms of the reserves available to their squad. But of course it's getting this working in an effective system, which I think they've really struggled, which is incredible when you consider some of the natural talent available to them, the likes of Henry, Ribéry, Gourcuff. But this is, I think, shows a definition and between the two coaches, and where Ireland definitely have an advantage. Ramon Domenech, we all know how unpopular he is, the French coach, and if we needed a reminder, it was there this week when they had a team trip to the ATP Paris Masters, and when Domenech's face was on the big screen, he did a little wave and got whistled by the fans, and even Thierry Henry, one of his closest allies, struggled to suppress a snigger at that moment. But of course Domenech has won nothing in his career, which is the exact opposite of the very experienced Trapattoni, who's won 7 Scudetti as a coach. He's also won 3 UEFA Cups, a European Cup with Juventus, as well as a Cup Winners' Cup, and as well as league titles in Germany, Portugal and Austria. So he's got a lot behind him, possibly the most successful coach in Serie A history. And I think it's interesting when you see him interviewed. He's often rather unfairly criticised for his rather stilted English, but I think it's really mirrors his approach, and therefore the approach of his team is very blunt and to the point, like the great Ireland teams of Jack Charlton that did so well in Euro 88, World Cup 90 and World Cup 94 in the USA. Very well organised, hitting the key points like the set pieces very hard, and that's something that France are going to have to watch for. And I think it's something that has really been noted in Domenech's selection. He's gone for a lot of big physical players who can handle themselves, even if you look in the reserves of the squad, the likes of Loic Remy of Nice up front, and Moussa Sissoko, the excellent young Toulouse midfielder, are in there to provide that extra beef and backup. And I think if we look at the France team that's likely to start at Croke Park in Dublin tomorrow, here we have it. It's going to be 4-2-3-1, and we have Alou Diarra in the middle there, replacing the injured Jérôme Toulalan, who's unfortunately not going to make it from a French perspective. The other thing we have is on the right side of attack, in the 3, we have Nicolas Anelka. It's a decision that I think is understandable, of course, because Anelka has so much great experience of the English game, and he's in decent form for Chelsea this season. Personally, I think Sidney Govou would maybe be a better pick, especially for an away game in Dublin. He's a guy who really works the flank, gets out and helps his full-back out, as he will have to help out Bakary Sagna. I think Anelka is more of a natural striker, is less used to this, so it'll be a tiny bit more difficult for him. but at least it shows that France are going there with some sort of positivity to really attack the game. Now, of course, the centre-forward position, they've got a lot of candidates there. We mentioned Remy before. Of course, we can't forget Karim Benzema of Real Madrid, but the one they're going to go with, Andre-Pierre of Toulouse, and I think that is a good choice. In the immortal words of Kenny Hassan of World Football Daily, he looks like the sort of guy who clobbers a pint and a sausage croissant on the way to training. And that's the thing with Gignac. He's used to playing on his own up front. He's big, good at holding the ball up, quite light on his feet, and doesn't always need to wait for support. He can shoot with either foot. He's an incredibly improved player over the last year or so, and he's helped France out of a few holes in the short time that he has been in the international picture in the last 6 to 8 months. So he could be a player who could make the difference. There was a tremendous story about him this week. He was saying how much he was looking forward to Croke Park because he'd spent some time in Southern Ireland in his teenage years and really got into Gaelic football in that time. And of course, Croke Park is a great home of Gaelic football. So as a fan, he was really looking forward to the challenge. A lot of French players of the past talking about the great atmosphere they've experienced in Ireland in losing causes in a couple of World Cup qualifiers in the past. René Girard, the former French midfielder, made his debut out there, now a coach of Montpellier, in 1981 when Ireland won 3-2 in that game. So Ireland have got form in that respect, but I think the French, especially the young, strong players, the likes of Sissoko, as I said before, Alou Diarra, Lassana Diarra and Gignac, are really looking forward to that challenge. I would take France to edge it maybe, even though one can never back against Trapattoni. One last story to exemplify the difference between Trapattoni and Domenech. A story came out in the French newspaper Le Parisien this week saying that Domenech had actually applied for the Ireland job in November 2002 after Mick McCarthy, who incidentally signed for Olympique Lyonnais when he was coach there in '89, applying for that job and not getting it. Of course, it eventually going to Brian Kerr. So really, Domenech, he's never going to be a hero in France, but he can go a little way towards rebuilding his reputation and of course enhancing his CV, because there's no doubt he'll be moving on from the French national team job after this World Cup, should they get to South Africa. So it's something that could enhance his reputation a little bit if they did make it through. Anyway, I hope you enjoy all the games this weekend. Terrific game in prospect with Portugal and Bosnia. Interesting to see how the Slovenians do against Russia, and of course we've got Greece versus Ukraine as well. So happy watching of all of those. Remember to keep up with us on www.allornothingtv.net, and of course feel free to hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/Andy Brassell. Take care and we'll see you again soon.